Erev Shabbos, everybody. It's Ve'elu Shmois B'nei Yisrael Aboy Mitzrayma. It's Ya'akov Yishabes Abo, so the Shivas Atzal said, the Loshen Haboyim that are coming to Mitzrayim, not that Yabo, that they came to Mitzrayim, they're coming. In other words, our attitude always when it's in Golus, that we're not there to stay. We're only there for a short period of time. And we're coming. We're coming for what we need to be there for. We have to be a little longer, we'll stay a little longer. But we're not pshat that we came and we stayed already. It was just a question when we are leaving. It's not when we're leaving, it's when we're going to be here. And we're not going to ever be here, so therefore we're not in Golus, technically. I mean, we're always wondering, how are we going to put it? Okay. Okay, it says also, Vayishul Vayu Vayatz Moed Moed, a lot of Jews there, Fatimolo Yotzaysim. Vayokem al Chodesh HaMitzrayim, Shelo Yodas Yosef. Now, no one knows Yosef, that's a little bit difficult. I mean, it must be annals of history. You have the history book of Mitzrayim. It's not that much later than when he died even let's say it's 100 years after he died. This is a major event that took place that every balabos probably put down in this thing. You know, I was once a rich man, and the only reason I'm an Eved now to Pala is because there was once a hunger here, and there was a guy, Yosef, that saved us, but he sold us the thing, and he took our land, and he took us things, he made us into Avodim, and I can tell you a whole bunch of things why they don't like Yosef. But the mice is that they all know who Yosef was. So what do you mean, Yokem Melech Chodesh, and definitely as far as the king should know, like, you know, who made me the king of Mitzrayim, meaning that I own Mitzrayim, is Yosef. So I should really know who he is. I mean, you know, so that's the only reason you're king of Mitzrayim. You're not just first among equals, is because Yosef made the Mitzrayim into Mitzrayim, into Avodim. So Rashi says over here, I mean, Targum says, V'kom malko chadet al Mitzrayim lo mekayim zeros Yosef. They didn't know Yosef, but he didn't live up to the gzeres of Yosef. What are the gzeres of Yosef? The only one I know is that it became Avodim, and that they made him lachomish, the law that from now on you got to give 20% of your things to the mouth, to Pari. So that's what that the gzeres of Yosef was. And he didn't know that. That means he wasn't mekayim it. So this learns to the Chayre, what it means then is that basically he's coming to them and he feels the Yidden are a threat to him. They're taking over the country. You know, and they're free. They're not avodim. So they're taking over the country and it bothers him. He doesn't want them to kick him out. That they should become the Melech. So what did he do? So he tells the Mitzrayim, you know, we got to do something about the Jews. He says, why? We got nothing to lose. What difference does it make to us if he did the Jews and the Malach and you're the Melech? We're the same Avodim. So we have nothing to lose. He gave them back their land. He gave them free their bodies. Now you got something to lose, so you better do something about it. According to that pshat, then say that in the Medrash is, I think it's in the Yalkut, that probably it's a Medrash too, that he brings down that they first deposed, but Pari refused to do anything against the Jews. In other words, the people wanted the Jews to be done something about them. And Pari refused to do it because of thankfulness to Yosef. And then when they deposed him, he then gave in. And that's what the Yalkut says. Gershon used to always quote it, but it's a Yalkut. According to my cheshbon, or even without my cheshbon, how did he ever depose him? They were all avodim. That was all the avodim. Avodim can make a revolution. There's no question about it. They can make a revolution. But if it's not organized and whatever it is there, it's not going to happen. You know, with half the people who he's up for policemen or that, whatever it is, they're going to put the other guys down. It's not going to make, he doesn't have to do much to make them remain avodim. So it doesn't say that, you know, that they pose it. Usually if you're deposing a guy, you get rid of him already. And especially if you want your land back and you want to be free again, so then you would kick Pharaoh out regardless. Once you have that power to depose him, so why would you put him back in power? Even if he does something about the Jews, put somebody else in and he'll do something about the Jews. Why would I want Pharaoh to do it? That's doesn't make sense, that the medrash in that sense. That was once. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know. Okay. So he's decided that we're going to make them work. Now, and they build Pisa and Ramses. Now, Pisa and Ramses are one as a standard of luxury. I remember as a child, my mother would always say, "What do you think this is, Pisa and Ramses?" You know, like that's the epitome of what luxury is going to look like. Pisa and Ramses. And then we know that Pisa and Ramses supposedly never got built because, you know, when it got close to the end, it would cave in and so on. I don't know how true this minig is, but I heard there's a certain sect that when they get to the word morer, they point to their wives on Pesach. But they say that when they get the word morer, they point to their wives. Now, under such a thing, you would think they get their arms broken or something like that, or get hit in the head by something. So what's pshat that, you know, it's still a minig around. I mean, I can pass through the next door. The first door didn't end it yet, you know, when they passed down. So Mashmei Weiss said a very good pshat, I think. He says, the difference of Avodas Perach was they made men do women's work and women do men's work. What does that mean? So he said, a man and a woman have two different attitudes towards, or whatever you want to tell that makes me a man and a woman, is how we think. A man wants to accomplish. So you ever have a picture of what they call a man's pad, a bachelor's pad, as they call it, right? He lives alone. Every dish in the house is filthy and laying in the sink, right? All over the place. There's nothing, no garbage is taken out, nothing is there. It's all filthy like that. What do you call it? Why, it likes to live in filth? No, they're not going to take it out. What's the point in my washing the dish? I'm going to dirty it in 5 minutes anyway. There's no point in washing it, right? Good logical. A woman does, that's all her whole work is that. She cleans the house, you dirty it again. She cooks, you eat it up. And she has to cook again. What do you call it? So everything she does is repetitive. So she can do repetitive things. We built Pisa and Ramses, and it kept falling in, so we never finished the job. It was never something we can brag about. Look at Pisa and Ramses, look what we did. There's nothing to brag about because Pisa and Ramses don't exist. And because of that, so that made us, broke our spirit, is the fact that we never felt a sense of accomplishment. On the other hand, the woman, from the normal works, they do. The repetitive he gave the other one. That's a little harder to understand why they should be against accomplishing, but whatever it is. And they did it beperach. Now, the taina of a perach, I think, is a complete taina on the Egyptians themselves. It has nothing to do with Pari. I mean, Pari may have agreed to it because obviously, normally when you're talking about having avodim and you want things to do, so you're interested in the productivity of the avid. In other words, why are you punishing an Eved? Why are you beating him up? He's not doing the job. He's not what he's supposed to be doing, so therefore you beat him up. But if the Eved is doing whatever you're supposed to do, right, would you beat him up? No. So the question then is, so why did they make Beperach? Why did they make it this way, like we say, whatever to do, men's work for women, women's work for men? Why don't you want productivity, so let the men do the men's work, the women do the women's work, and you'll get the productivity you want. We're not interested in the productivity. We're interested in hurting the Yid. In other words, when you're looking about found a din that an Adami and a Mitzri have to wait, if they become a ger, they have to have an essay to marry, internalize 3 dollars before they can marry into Klal Yisrael. Now, what is that reason for? Because they want to get rid of the midas that they have, the bad midas. The bad midah of Edom, we know. The bad midah of Edom is achar b'chatichya. You're a murderer. And therefore, to get rid of this Indian of that the first thing you do is pull out your knife, that you have to get diluted into the Dilei HaTorah until we finally can listen to the Dilei HaTorah. But otherwise, it doesn't make a sense. But what's the Mitzrayim? What did they do? No, just because we were avodim to them, we should be angry at them. I'm sure we were avodim to many people over history's time. So we make laws against them that they can't come into Klal Yisrael. No, but I think because they were cruel. They were exceptionally cruel. Now, like when you talk about a kid, who's want to say he's a cruel kid, he pulls the wings off flies, or something like that. He just wants to torture the thing. He want to kill the bug, step on it. I don't want to kill the bug. I want to torture the bug. And that's what they did. Their kavanah was, you're right, we're doing it for certain things, but we want to get even with the Jews for whatever reason. They want to get even with us. And one of the pshatim that you find also in the Medrash, that Tzvoi, that Salifas, his son, would attack Mitzrayim to get at the Jews. And the Yosef would go out and defend it, and they would always win. And because of that, but meanwhile the Mitzrayim had to go to war every time because of the Jews. That itself is septem, maybe. Okay, so there's a reason why they didn't like the Jews. But because they didn't like the Jews, what they did is they made sure the Jews suffered when they do it. Now, it wasn't enough that they got the work out of them, and they wanted the work, and they wanted it done. But they'd rather have the torture and the thing there at the expense of maybe they won't get the work, or maybe it'll be the excuse where they would get the work. And this way I would understand later, when you have the Sheitrei B'nai Yisrael, it's going to be talked about later at the end of the Seder. The Sheitrei B'nai Yisrael were Jews that were appointed by the Egyptians as the guys in charge of the Jews. Now, in Emerson, the Nazis did the same thing. And we call those guys capos, or whatever it was. Now, a capo was not a good, was not a miler. You wouldn't say the guy's a nice guy by being a capo. He usually was a lackey of the Nazis, and he would do their bidding until he himself got killed by them. But Lamaisa, he was willing for his own selfishness to hurt Jid and to do so on. So if that's who they were, the Sheitrei B'nai Yisrael, so I don't think it's a big deal that we should have them. And yet the Sanhedrin has to be from the Sheitrei B'nai Yisrael. When Moshe Rabbeinu was told to make a Sanhedrin of 70 guys, he was told to pick the people that you knew were the Sheitrei B'nai Yisrael. Why would they pick them? They're capos. They're not good guys. That's not true. That's not what they were. What they were the ones that took the beatings for the Jews. It was the ones that got punished, that got hit by the Mitzrayim the most were the Sheitrim. Now, how did they become a Sheiter? and this is my theory, I don't know the Emerson how they did it, but they assumed that there's a Yid standing there, and they could have picked on you, and you. Okay, that's possible, but I don't think that's the way it happened. I think that they would, the Mitzrayim would try to force the Yidden to be able to beat them up. In other words, you got to build like 100 bricks, you only made 99, boom, boom. Okay. And so now the people, when you get feared of getting beaten up, doesn't make you work twice as fast. It sometimes freezes you that you can't work at all. And therefore, all of a sudden, you're not producing anything at all, and stuff like that. So the Shaitan in Yisrael was the Yid that walked over to his friend and said to him, don't worry, I make more than when I need. I'll cover you for you if you're short. Okay, so the guy now feels relieved, goes back and he's able to produce whatever he can produce. Okay. Now, the Mitzri may have seen this, and he saw, before he was intending, he saw the guy's going to make only 75 bricks. He's got his whip already, he's got it all shined up, and he's going to have a lot of fun today. You know, he's going to beat up this Yid and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, this guy goes and gives him bricks to fill up his amount, and now we can't touch him. Okay, wise guy, if that's the way you're going to do this, you're responsible. Anything they're short, you're going to get it. And that's what he did. And we beat the Shaitan B'nai Yisrael, they got hit. So they were talking guys who are Meisei Nefesh for Klal Yisrael. Okay. Vayemel Mitzrayim am Yaldas Ivris, which is Yocheved and Miriam, or Shifra and Pua, and they tell them that I want you to kill the kids. Now, it's brought down one reason for this is that Pare was not yet ready to commit murder, and by him, and this is halachas like this, a guy who commits abortion is chayiv misa, because he's a murderer. A Yid that commits abortion is not chayiv misa, because the baby wasn't born yet, and he's only eva and is a retziche, but not enough for misa. Okay. So he's telling her, if I do it, I'm chayiv misa the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You do it, you're not chayiv misa. Better you do it, and at that time, and therefore you'll kill him before the kid is born. So it says abortion, it's not a murder. No, the baby's not born yet. What's the born? What's considered birth? The Gemara says, partzef, when the forehead comes out, that's when he's born. That means until the forehead comes out, he's still inside, and that's not considered born yet, and still considered an abortion. It's not a baby yet. So you see some alav. How will you see if it's a boy or a girl? So it says the boy will come out face down, and a girl will come out face up. So they're coming down face down, so you will see the hair of the head of the boy. But how do you know it's a boy yet? You don't know it's the benu. Now you don't usually see that until you see the bottom part of it to know if it's a boy or a girl. That part I can't answer you, but if they'll see that, they will tell. But you're able to tell them because you'll see the head before the forehead, you'll see the hair before the forehead, and at that time you know it's a boy, or because he's coming down face down. I'm sorry. The baby's coming out face down, so he's holding the simon. A boy was born face down, so if the baby is coming out face down, so then you know it's a boy. So then, and before the forehead comes out, you kill it. So that's why you'll do it. Okay. I tried to verify this fact by many doctors, and none of them agreed to it. And then finally, I got a list. I know you can ask whatever your obstetricians on how it actually works. But I was told in the end that they really turn every baby to face up. So therefore, there's no differentiation between a boy and a girl. They all come out the same way. Okay, but that they should know if you have to turn them, or you didn't have to turn them. I mean, they think that, okay, maybe in that part you're too busy to analyze it, and if you ask you to rethink it, it's hard to rethink which one I thought was a boy or a girl, whatever they did. This much I do know from at least one case that I know of, where the baby was born at home without medical attention. That means the baby shot out, and if shot out, it was a boy, and he came out face down. That much I can say. Past that, I don't know about others, but that much, and if I assume from that one, probably that's the way it is. So therefore, Rashi is right. Okay, so anyway, they were afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so they didn't listen to Malach Paro, and they would Trayenas Hayilodim. He called them Malach Mitzrayim to Mialdas, and he told him, what do you do this for? And he told him an excuse that the babies were born already when we got there. So therefore, we can't commit murder. You didn't tell us to commit murder. If I can't, we wouldn't listen to you to commit murder. We only told us to make abortions, and it was too late for an abortion. So therefore, there's no point in doing it. Now again, Rashi uses a lashon which different than actually the pasuk says, as far as I see it. He says, "Vayiter kimis hamiyaldes." How did he make him good? All right, by giving them bottom. Okay. He made for them houses. That is not what the pasuk says. Let's see the pasuk. Didn't give him he didn't do it because God made him good. It's a different atova, different things. So what is the atova of Vayirav Ha'om Vayatzim Ha'oid? So I tell you this way, if you give anyone a choice who has a dream of what he wants to accomplish in this world, let's say he wants to become a Great Rosh Yeshiva, and you tell him, I can guarantee you'll be the greatest Rosh Yeshiva in the world, but you'll be hungry. You're eating only bread and water. Would you take it or not? And the guy will take it. Why? Because I'm more interested in accomplishing what I want to do. We find this even by Goyim, by Mother Teresa. There was the point of living with lepers. She wanted to do for them whatever it is there. And when I went to school, she wasn't around. There was a doctor with an S, Schweitzer, that used to do the similar things. And whatever it is there, and what a great guy he is, and he lived among lepers and stuff. So that's a great guy. You put yourself in sakona, you're living yourself with animals, people who degraded themselves, animals, and that you're seeing. That's what you're looking for. That's what I want to do. I want to make for their dignity, whatever you want to call it. So that's over here also. The Mialdos put themselves in sakona, right, to save Klal Yisrael. So what happened? Because of that, Vayirav Ha'om Vayatz Moed, the nation become very big. So they saw success in what they did. It's the greatest reward you could possibly get is success. And that's what they got. Now there's a second thing. They were Yoreh Kim. They didn't do it for personal thing. They did because of Benjamin. Vayasel and Botim. Same age and Botim. So it's two different things. It's similar to what we had. We said it by Lavan, that it says of Vayihiki Yoros, whatever it is there, the jewelry on his sister's things. He ran outside. Why did he run? For the money. That's not what the Psukim said over there. He ran because he's a good guy. When he saw the Psukim, when he saw what he wanted, he cleaned out the house. He took his all out because he knew it's a simon of Avram Avinu's people. Okay, now we see how how progression works, and it takes a certain situation to make a person change. So originally, Pali was not a murderer. But when it finally came down to the thing that the Mashiach Hashem is being burned to the born today, he said, kill everybody. All of a sudden he told him to kill. Chayiv Misa. Yeah, it's a threat to my power, whatever it is, they kill everybody. And that's what they did. Okay. Anyway, it came Vayelech Ishu Beis Levi, Vayikach is Bas Levi. So it's Amram who took Yocheved, and she had children. Now, why are you hiding who he is? Why don't you just tell us who it is? And in Emerson, if you look in Parshas Vayero, where we finally tell us who these people are and their names, over there, it puts in so many extra psukim. In order to be able to get to it, it has to tell you starting from the children of Reuven and Shimon, and then to Levi, and then we're going down the whole genealogy of Levi until we get to Amram taking Yocheved, and then why don't you just tell it to us right over here? We wouldn't need that whole parsha over there. So this Rosh Shiva said also that there's nothing to brag about until you've accomplished something. Moshe Rabbeinu, there's no question, was a good kid. Supposedly the whole house lit up when he was born, and everything else. They knew this kid's going to have kishroinus beyond normal. Okay, so l'chayr should go around bragging. You know, my kid's so smart. He can sleep through the whole shiur and still know the shiur. That's not a milah. That's just saying you're raising a lazy kid. That's all you're doing. You're not utilizing his keiches. That's not a milah. So therefore, the fact that he has greater kishreines, you didn't raise him yet. You didn't do anything to him yet. So there's nothing for you to take credit for. Whatever he has is not what you gave him. You gave him it to him. Okay. Okay. Okay, so anyway, she says he thought he was a good kid. She was born to 6 months, Moshe Rabbeinu, and just for point of information, I believe he was born in Adar Aleph. And he died in Adar Sheni. Why do I say that? Because the Gemara says about a tzaddik, the banishes down a person meyayim l'yayim and mechaydish l'chaydish. In other words, that if he dies on his birthday, then you know he lived this every day that he deserved. He lived full 100 years. So take from the Gemara's Mashman, there's a Gemara in Kochim somewhere, I don't remember where it is. It says over there that a kid's bar mitzvah at 14. So Rashi says over there it means 1 day past 13, the 14th year. So why is he use the expression 14? Because when America, we count your, let's say, your 13 is when I finished my whole 12 years. I'm born to 13, so now up to 13, right? Now when you finish the whole year, now you become the next year. In that case, there'll be shilas of how you gaze on a person. They live 70 years. I'm taking that as a number. That's the person supposed to live 70 years. And now the question is to see if he's a tzaddik. How much of the 70 years did he live? 70 to the day or 70 less than a day, whatever it is, a week, a month, a year. If that's the case, then that means you're saying he lived to 71, almost. Right? Or you're meaning as soon as I pass 69 and a day, that means I ended my 70th year, I am now 70 years old. And when I die, that means you were not a tzaddik. You didn't live out the full 70 years that you could have lived out. I could have given you a full 70 years, and I only gave you half of 70 years. So therefore, you're not a tzaddik gomer. But I gave you 70 years, because that was the example I made originally on you, that you're going to live 70 years. So that was Mekuyim. So then, it was the same thing. Should Tzolchayr then say, Mechodesh l'chodesh, and then miyayim l'yayim, right? Oh, yeah, I lived 11 months, now even up to the day. No, I lived to the day. And Mechodesh l'chodesh, if it's other aleph and other beis, technically I'm yetze a whole year if you die in other aleph, because you live 12 months. But if I go to other beis, you get that extra month. Right there, and so I go miyayim l'yayim. And it's called Moshe Rabbeinu over there. So therefore, we're talking about that he was born in the Aleph and he died in the base. One at a time. Okay. Anyway, we don't really, of all the kids I know, when you talk about a 6-month baby that Moshe Rabbeinu supposedly was, you're not talking about a preemie. You're talking about a full-sized baby, but it took only 7 months. That's why it also Kimishloish Chadoshim, and she would become Nikel at 2 months instead of at 3 months. No, we don't know when she's pregnant, because the baby develops faster. Not it's a preemie. Preemies are 9-month babies. So I don't know if anyone really knows of a 7-month baby. I'm choishes of only one case that I know because of certain things, the facts that I knew at the time, and it's only a chash because I never asked it, so I can't ask it, so I don't know. But I would assume that it was a 6-month baby. But otherwise, it was, and yet all the dinners of Choneh are totally on this fact. It could be a Tisha L'Rishon or Shisha L'Sheni. So it seems to have been quite common in order to do it. In the Torah, we find at least 3 that had this. We had Zorach and Peretz and Moshe that were born at 6 months. So how many others were? I have no idea. But those 3 we know for sure. And the thing that, so I can't answer this. It was why we kept this halacha still exists and in full force. Anyway, she puts him in a box, she puts him out in the river, and the baby is just floating over there, and Miriam is hanging around to see what happens to him, because she made a nevuah that the Mashiach Hashem is going to be born from Yocheved. And he said to him, okay, go see what's going to happen with you. So she wanted to see what's going to be, what's the Rebbeinu to do with the Nisim, how it's going to happen, this thing there. Since it was a nevuah, and she knows that she was a nevuah, I'm sure she had no doubts that it's going to happen. The question is, how is it going to happen? Okay, that's a point that you want to see sometimes also. Okay, so Bas Pari went down to what do you call it? The comes to Madoshim. Why she went down to Yitzhak? Not so. That's irrelevant to the story. And she reached out her hand, or her Amma. So if it's a hand, the Gemara says 60 Ammas, her hand stretched. Okay, did she realize it was a nest? Maybe she did. I mean, it's helpful when someone's in the middle of doing something they want to do. They don't even think how they possibly could have reached it. I mean, it's like, I got it. And they saw it, a little baby crying like a child, like a big child. and she has Rachmanis on him, and I don't know what you'll say, what they're supposed to be now, boiche, as opposed to a child voice. Sometimes the whimpering of a child is more effective, Rachmanis and stuff like that. I can't answer you, but definitely the kid, by crying like a now, that shows certain keches that the kid has, and therefore, maybe that's what drew her to Moshe Rabbeinu. And she says, "Miyalda Yivrim Zeh," even though this is 3 months after the gzeira of drying of killing the kids, but maybe they were already killing the Jewish kids all the time. So this kid is a Jewish kid. Otherwise, why would he be floating around the river? And so on. Now, I assume that by Yocheved, she was pretty much depressed. Amram, Yocheved, they had to pay, here's this baby is born to them, and all of a sudden they have to put him out in the river, and they don't know what's going to happen to him, and whatever it is. Okay. So the Bensham wants to give chizuk to them and to all generations by making a specific ness happen, that what happens that he doesn't want to drink from any of the shikses that were there, and Miriam says, let me get you a Jewish woman that will do it, and she got the mother, got Yocheved to do it, and the Baruch Hashem, the baby took, so she's getting paid for doing what you would normally have done for nothing, right? So you show yourself, not only can I make it back to where it was, I can even show you that they can make it think even to gressler Sachen to happen, not just the status quo. I can do, you'll get money even for it. I said maybe in a joke, but I think it, to a certain extent, it makes a lot of sense. Mothers have arguments for history, for ages. Am I going to work, or I'm going to take care of my kid? So a lot of women say, I'm taking care of my kid because I'm the only one that has that love for my kid, and I'm going to give over my love, and I don't care if we don't have any food in the house, it's not irrelevant. Then the other one says, if I was home, I got other things to do in the house. If I hire a babysitter, she's only going to be Yosik with the baby. So I do a better job for the baby by hiring the babysitter. Which is better? We have a situation here where you only have one Moshe Rabbeinu, is that his mother got paid for taking care of him. And therefore when Amram would say, I need lunch to Yocheved, she would say, I'm sorry, I'm working with Basi Baspari, I can't stop, I can't do anything for you, I can't clean the house, I can't do anything, but I have to take care of the baby the whole time. That means you're totally involved with the baby the whole time, and with the mother's love and stuff like that. No, maybe that's how you get a Moshe Rabbeinu. And of course we keep the name that Basi gives him. Okay. Now, it's also, she knows it's a Jewish kid. She knows Paro is killing Jews. So how are you taking them to the house? I would assume that she had that relationship, I guess the Rebbeinu made that relationship between her and her father, that she knew that whatever she wants, the father's going to give her, even though there's a thing. They may test the kid like they did. They put jewels in front of him. They put the hot coals in front of him, and he grabs for the jewels, and Gabriel knocks his hand into the coals, and that's how he burns his lips. It becomes a kavad peh. But Lamaisa, he had his thing, but Paro was keeping his eye on, seeing what he's going to do. If he's going to take the jewels, then I'm going to big thing, because he reached for Paro's crown. That was something that was a no-no. He's a little baby, he doesn't know anything, so we have to find out, is he a baby, or this is the kid? And therefore the thing doesn't. So Baruch Hashem. Okay. Anyway, he's brought up in Paro's house. Now, one of the reasons he's brought out in Paro's house, which will affect the way he argues with HaKadosh Baruch Hu later on, and so on, is a kasha. Why, when Moshe Rabbeinu did not come back from Har Sinai, when they thought he should come back, they made an egel. Why didn't they just put Aaron in and say, okay, Moshe's not here, Aaron, you take over. Aaron had past experience being the leader of Klal Yisrael, so hey, so that's the natural thing you should have done. The problem with that is, there are people that remember Aaron when he was a kid. Aaron, the kid that used to jump all over the benches in the shul, that's the kid's going to be the leader of Klal Yisrael. I can't listen to a kid like that. Moshe Rabbeinu was brought up in the palace. Nobody saw him jumping on the shul benches. If he did, he was jumping on the throne. But it had nothing to do on the thing, so they didn't, that criticism of Moshe, I knew you when, didn't exist by Moshe Rabbeinu. And the thing did. And another thing we'll find later, that there's some two psukim, that the fact is he ran away, and there's a medrash says he became the king of Cush. That was 40 years. That means 40 years he was trained as a king himself. In other words, complete obedience, talked, with authority at all times. Never thing, because a melech Yisrael is not allowed to in public. Has to always speak like angry. It doesn't mean he should be angry, but it means with direction. In other words, as if he expects to be obeyed upon whatever it is, because by doing that, the people have a fear of you, and there's something like that. Okay. So, Vayibayom Mahamahem, Vayigdal Moshe, Vayetzer Lechov. So normally we learn he went out to see how the Jews were doing and whatever it is, and that's the normal pshat. The Ibn Ezra got this says not like that. Ibn says Lechov HaMitzrayim. He went out to his brothers, the Mitzrayim. Now, what does that mean? They're not my brothers. Yes, they are. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously, whatever it is, he was already Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Whatever it is, however he could have been. I can't answer you how he got that. If we learned the way I said before, that Miriam, that Yocheved had him for 2 years or whatever it is, until she gave him back to Pari, to Bas Pari, she trained him to be certain things and knew all about Yiddishkeit and who he was and what he was all about and everything else there. Had a different vision of how he's going to. He also had Rachmanis ad Yidden, but he has a big chance of becoming Pari. Now, Pari is going to be chosen from among the children of the present Pari, and I being raised by Bas Pari as her son and stuff like that. So in other words, who's the father? There's a Pari is the father, and therefore I'm smarter than all the other the guys here. I'm going to be the next Pari, and when I become Pari, I'll free the Yidden. So we don't need any nisim. Nothing's going to happen. That's what I'm going to do when the time comes. I'm going to be there. So what is the Rebbeinu Shalom having his plans? It's got to be 200 years or 210 years or 400 years, whatever the thing is. We'll talk about that after. What was his plans? So the Rebbeinu Shalom showed him that he couldn't control himself. He showed him into a situation where mitzvah is hitting a yid, and you say you're going to hold back, you're not going to have pity on them, you're not going to think, you're going to wait for your moment till they're free and everything. I say, let's see what you can do. And he couldn't control himself, he killed the mitzvah and whatever it is. Okay, next day he sees the Jews, according to who this mitzvah was, according to the Roshim and other things, is this is Shlemis, the guy she was beating up was Dasan, who was Shlemis Bas Divri's husband, and he's the Ben Ish Mitzri that came to Shlemis Bas Divri, and he thought he pretended to be Dosan. Came, it was pitch dark. She didn't know who he was. And the thing is, then she lived with him, and she became pregnant to the Ben Ish Mitzri. But basically, this is the guy. So he's out to kill Dosan, and Moshe Rabbeinu saved Dosan. The next day he goes out and he sees Dosan and Aviram are over there, and one of them is going to hit the other one. And he says to him, Rosh Reyecha. He calls him Rosh before he hit. Not talking about the wait for hitting. The fact that you have the impulse to hit and you can't control yourself, and that impulse, that itself is rishus. And that's what we want from every one of us. We shouldn't have that reaction that we want to kill the guy. But here's a guy who saved you. You should have been more polite to him and not like that. And he says to him, you're going to treat me like you're going to kill the Mitzri? Now he knew, and all of a sudden he became frightened because he thought that we'd lost all the chusim we have, whatever it is there, the fact that they're going to become squealers to Pari. And obviously that's what happened. They squealed to Pari. Pari went out to kill him, and he couldn't kill him. He tried to kill him. The sword broke, whatever it is there. And meanwhile, he ran away. And he comes to Eretz Midian. I looked on the maps, it's a big kasha. Where's Eretz Midian? It doesn't make any sense. Eretz Midian is Saudi Arabia, or under Jordan, something like that there. You have the kasha, how the Yidden got there, the picture of Yamsuf and stuff. There's something that it's a new theory since the Abraham Accords. It makes a lot of sense. Like this, you have that Parshas Har Sinai was in the Sinai Peninsula. So the problem was, so where they cross Kriyas Yamsuf, of course, those little straits, the Straits of Suez or whatever it is, it's a little bit, maybe a mile wide. About that thing, you're having crossing and of course that mile wide or whatever it is about 3-4 million Jews, and Kol Chel Pari, a chase effort, and they're all in the water at the same time. How? When you have an 8-mile backup on cars, I just heard about yesterday, there was an 8-mile backup. How many cars are involved in an 8-mile backup? How many thousands of people? Not many. Comparatively, you wouldn't see it's 1 million people at least. No, nothing. 20,000, 10,000 maybe. That's all. Each car takes, no one's on top of the other guy's steps. And whatever it is, they walk berevach. It's not the thing to open there. So there's room for everything else. Okay, a kasha is a kasha. Then not my business how it happened, right? Afterwards, they came up that the theory is they crossed about 100 miles further down the Egyptian coast, and they crossed where the Yam Suf is at least 100 miles wide. 100 miles wide makes sense now. Now that's a big Kriyas Yam Suf. It's not a little puddle. Now you can't have coming along saying Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds, means a little puddle. We're talking about Yam Suf. We're talking about the Red Sea. The truth is, what's Red Sea and Reed Sea? Reed used to be spelled R-E-D. Otherwise, why is it called the Red Sea? Black Sea looks black. The Green Sea looks green. But why would you have a Red Sea? No red over there. Oh, it became that was the Nile, not the what do you call it, right? It's not the Red Sea. So, what would he call the Red Sea? But it's a Reed Sea. Okay, that's what it's called. Why it's called the Yasam Suf? I can't answer you, unless there's a lot of reeds growing there. That's all I can say on the shores. But past that has nothing to do with the size of the yam or whatever it is there. That would also make a shayla, since the Ben Shalom took us out, Loida Plishtim, that means we didn't go through the Sinai to go through Gaza and that place until it's soil, because that's the Eretz Plishtim. We had to go around. So normally we went mamish till Eretz Plishtim, and then circumvented around Eretz Plishtim, and came all the way around in the Yam Suf that way. Okay. This way, it's very simple how they landed up on the other side. They crossed the Yam Suf over there, so they're in Jordan or in Saudi Arabia. So now they're coming up there to get into Eretz Yisrael, so it's going to be automatically in that thing there. And supposedly that's what they showed them when they were there. I don't know, I can't answer you. Any things that he says some Rebbe went to check it out, I can't tell you. So the question is, how did he get to over here? The Yam Suf didn't split for him. That we don't find that the Yam Suf split for him. So Parshas, he took a boat. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, where did he get a boat? Doesn't say anything about that, no kasha. But we do know that he made a stopover. He didn't go from Mitzrayim to Midian. That's, like I said, that you got to cross somehow, somewhere. A very long trip, whatever it is. But Cush, which they translate as Ethiopia, is next to Egypt. So he ran from there, he ran to Cush. Cush becomes the Melech over in Cush. And the whole stories with Bilam and all the kind of stories over there. And now he leaves after 40 years of being king there because he didn't want to have to marry the old king Zalmunna or whatever he was there. So he leaves and he takes this boat to wherever it is across over there because Midian is stuck here. I mean, Ethiopia is opposite Saudi Arabia already. That you're far down the sea over there. And then you come out near Midian, it will make sense. So he landed up in Midian over there and took a ship. The only thing that bothers me is how he had later on when he's going to take his wife and his children to Mitzrayim, he's taking them on a donkey. You'll say maybe he's taking them till the boat. He's taking with a donkey. But mashma, he came with the donkey into Mitzrayim, so I don't exactly know how that works. But okay. Could be the same donkey went on the boat too, okay. Anyway, he comes to Midian, and he's standing by the water, and the nice of Yisrael come out to the shepherds that they will have to give the water to drink, and the Maisa, since he became a Baal Tshuva, or whatever you want to call it, he was Kefer B'Avei Zorah, so all of a sudden he lost the power that he had in there, and people still ignored him. On the other hand, you don't find that they didn't let him take water at all. All they did was they made him take last. They didn't take no. If they really wanted to get the guy, they would tell him, "Sorry, the guy doesn't believe in Aveda Soul, doesn't drink anymore." And that they didn't do. So it could be that they didn't do that because simply the respect that Yisrael had when he was Kohen Midian, that he didn't lose completely. He's not what do you call it? You think he went crazy? You think he had no ideas? Whatever it is there. But it wasn't the point that they mevatel completely the possibilities of it. Anyway, and they told him that he shmitzli, and the question why he put on the mitzri clothing, why wasn't he wearing kush clothing and stuff like that. And I guess when he wanted to throw away the power of kush and whatever it is, he was melech there, then he would throw away also the whole thing of it. Okay. So anyway, he tells them, why didn't you call him in? Anyway, they called him, and then ultimately he marries Tzipayra, and he has a kid, Gерshon, God in here it doesn't say it. Eliezer's, why Eliezer was called Eliezer, doesn't say he named him Eliezer. This is when he tells the Ma'aser Mila, is that he called him L'keyovi Be'ezli Vayatzileni Mecherv Pari. So L'cheir Vayatzileni Mecherv Pari came before the Inyan of Gigero Yisa Be'ez Nachia. It was not yet a Ger Be'ez Nachia yet. So why am I making this? So Shiva learned again that Pshat is if a person doesn't feel he's a Ger Be'eretz Nachia, there's no mile of being saved Mecherv Pari. You have to feel where it goes. If you think that this is what it's supposed to be like, then you haven't accomplished anything. Okay, and this is what happens in Israel. So the Bensham now comes down, and he's going to, and the Bensham is finally going to send the Yeshua, and Moshe Rabbeinu is over there. And again, Moshe Yisrael, where's Yisrael in Midian? Right? Where'd he go? To Har Lakim, Chereva, which is Har Sinai, not to Har Bayis. And even the Har Bayis is pretty far. But over there, if you go to the Sinai, it's way far. So what was the thing there? So, but if it's turned, it's a Saudi Arabia, Har Sinai, makes sense. And then he went over there. Okay. And it came along, the Bensham comes to him in a snare. And you have a lot of times these things in life that a person is going to be faced with choices. But choices, on one hand, are small, but they have big, what do you go, Moshe Rabbeinu hid his face. And later on, when he says, the Bensham said, when you wanted, when I wanted, you didn't want, and when you want, I don't want. So that means, because right now you hid your face when I wanted to show you the Shekhinah, and you didn't want to see, you lost the chance even later to be able to see it. Right? Okay, so the Chayra, it's a big price to pay. On the other hand, for that tznius that Moshe Rabbeinu did, I don't remember what the schar he got for that was Meir Dik schar he got for that. So he got the schar for doing the right thing. So on one hand you lose a lot, you could have gained a lot. Which is, does he know both points at the time? That I can't answer you. No, then he chose which reward he'd like better. It's felt abyssal in the end of tznius then. Now, this was a natural reaction, was that he didn't want to be habit on Hashem. He didn't want to look at the Shekhinah. Okay. Anyway, the Bensham tells him, I'm going to send you out to save Kal Yisrael. Okay. He doesn't mention in the Aleph, Ramokim Haknani Achite Emoria Priza Achivi Vayevusi. The Chivi was not in the Brus Ben Absorim. The Gegoshi was. The Gegoshi is not mentioned. Something over here. When we daven in the morning, V'chos Moya Bris doesn't mention the Chivi over there. Doesn't mention him, but doesn't mention the Seforim. At all else Seforim. So over there you can learn davening, the Pshat and the Neil over there is Pshat, that I'm going to give you all the countries. I promised you 6 of them. Chivi belongs to Esav, doesn't belong to you. The only reason we have Chivi later on as the Shiva Numas is because he left Eretz Canaan and he went, Ya'akov Achiv, and he went to Har Seir, so he left over Shechem and those cities, which are the Chivi, and that cities he said, I'm not taking. So therefore that became, what's his name? That became Bnei Yisrael right now. Didn't have to wait, Keni, Knizi, Kadmoini, Losid Loving became us now. But right at this point, we still have the Gegoshi. The Gegoshi left. So when did the Gegoshi leave? The Gegoshi left now, or the Gegoshi left way before? I don't really know. No, it's somehow, they maybe when Yankov was, when Avram was burying, he said, you have a Toshav Anechi Imochem, so they knew that the Bensham gave already the land to Avram Avinu, and it was Arachoy, what do you call it? So therefore, ultimately it's going to come to be not theirs anyway. So hey, so might as well leave now. And whatever it is, it could be, that's what their cheshbon was, and they left way before. And the slave over there. So it could be, I don't know. But the Bensham, the Gemara says, Bensham gave them land in Africa, good land. Who they are and what they are, I don't know. Okay, we're going to stop here. We got to the other parts. Okay, the end of it, maybe next week we'll go. Next week there won't be an issue. I'll be in Israel. I'm sorry. So the week after we'll talk about maybe some of these things too. We'll see.
Good Shabbos to the Rav.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Shabbos. I got to give you a check. But right now I'm not going up. I see the people here. Okay.